So that's a thin line because I don't know where he's at with it. With gangbanging, is he still active? Is he still out there?
Like, a lot of y'all already know the Nipsey Hussle trial is taking place right now, and there's some serious stuff going down. What seemed like a doomed trial for the side of the accused might not be so grim any longer. Now it turns out that Nipsey Hussle's best friend is wanted because he knows the real truth. Yeah, you heard it right, man. The trial just took a weird turn for all the people out there, seeking justice for what was done to Nipsey Hussle back in 2019. But what does Nipsey's friend know, and why is he wanted? Evan McKenzie, better known to a lot of folks on the internet as Rim Paul, didn't show up to the Nipsey Hussle trial when he was called by the judge. He was supposed to testify in front of the court about what took place that sad day, but he decided not to do it. Because there aren't many other witnesses, and they're pretty important in order to gather enough evidence, the judge, who's responsible for the trial, issued a bench warrant for Rim Paul with a $500,000 bail. Yikes. For some clarification, a bench warrant means that Rim Paul would be taken into custody the next time any police officer does a simple checkup on him. After that, he'll have to testify, and he simply won't have a way out. Isn't Rim Paul a longtime homie of Nipsey? He was right there next to him even when he passed away, and he knows what's up better than most of us. But why did he decide not to show up to court? Matter of fact, Rim Paul was a pallbearer at Nipsey's funeral. Everyone knows that only the closest ones have such a privilege. It seems that Rim Paul not showing up to court just doesn't make sense. Well, perhaps it does. From his eyes, if he took the stand and said it all out loud in front of the judge, that would make a huge difference. I mean, it would mean that he'd be telling. And if you're from the streets, man, that paints a whole different picture of who you are and what your business is. In other words, if he was to testify in front of the court, he would be the dreaded S word. Yeah, the same word that allegedly caused Nipsey's life in the first place and started all the drama, snitch. This one tweet tells it all. Rim Paul really thought he'd be labeled as a snitch for helping to get justice for the neighborhood. If Cowboy testified, Rim should have as well, for f***'s sake. I hope this trial finally gives us closure soon. Now, we've already talked about the fact that the word snitch may not have been used during the chat between Eric Holder and Nipsey Hussle just moments before the incident took place in front of the Marathon store in LA. But the majority of the people out there believe that the context was pretty much the same. Someone's been snitching on someone. Eric Holder's lawyer even talked about Eric being called a snitch and how that impacted his decision. They're pretty much building their whole defense on the case around that argument. Regardless of what words were tossed around, Nipsey is gone. Figuring all the details ain't gonna bring him back. However, we never really got around to the fact that snitching has been used relatively often in the last couple of years, and has been closely tied to the hip-hop community ever since we can remember. Snitching has changed over the past years, and people can't seem to wrap their heads around what that word really means. We can for sure say what it meant in the past. If you did something shady with your boys, and then turned your back on one or all of them by telling what they did and who they are to the cops, that's what snitching was back in the day. If you snitch on your day ones, you know you won't be welcome anywhere near them in the future, to say the least. And now, it looks like any sort of contact and talk with the authorities is considered snitching. Any kind. Seriously, you go to the court, you snitch. You talk to the feds to clear a case and bail yourself out of trouble, snitch. Period. Where has this mentality brought us? Well, right here with this ongoing case that could be well wrapped up if only someone, who we know for a fact is a witness, would come to the court and clear it out. Rim Paul knows the truth, but he won't say it to the judge because he'll just be labeled a snitch, and that's gonna hurt his rep on the streets. There's also another side of the story. Some folks simply have zero trust in the system. If you have some trouble that started in the streets, that's exactly where you're gonna finish that trouble. You got yourself in a fight or some other type of trouble, you don't just go running to the cops. Nah, man. You talk to your homies and you get that beef squashed some other way. It's the street code. A lot of people follow it, even blindly sometimes. As you can imagine, the whole dilemma of what's snitching and what isn't stirred up a lot of opinions online. People have different opinions on the matter. Some think that Rim Paul is just stupid. What's bad about snitching is the deception and betrayal of turning in your own brothers when you're supposed to have their back. Who are you betraying when you tell the cops who shot your boy right in front of you? They tried to kill you. That's war. All is fair in love and war. That's your enemy. If the cops are chasing him now, that's a good thing. That's not snitching, a tattletale. Sure, it doesn't make you an informant. You're just a witness to a crime, or even a victim. However, some others understand his take on it. Take a look at some of these other comments. If you're still actively involved in gang activity and you point someone out in court and you are in fact a snitch, Ain't no way around it. With that being said, I don't condone that way of thinking or living, but that's what LA gang culture entails. It is what it is. Long live hustle. But that's not all. There's one more important element to the story. Perhaps another reason why a lot of people would be so quick in calling Ren Paul a snitch if he was to testify in front of the court is that Cowboy was called a snitch a little after his testimony to the court. If you guys don't know who Cowboy is, he's a guy working at Nipsey Hussle's store, and he was also a friend of his outside of work. Cowboy was also one of the few witnesses of what took place back in 2019. He can also be seen in the video footage that was used during the trial. A lot of people didn't know that he was trying to save Nipsey after what he saw happen. However, it was too late, man, and there was nothing he could do about it. But plenty of people thought that Cowboy's testimony against Eric Holder was an act of snitching, or at the least, very, very close to it. His testimony can be found online, and he's made his statement very clear. A lot of people have respect for what he did and the way he did it. Cowboy's fighting for the community, and he's fighting for Nipsey's case. But one interview done by No Jumper where a couple of folks talk about whether or not Cowboy actually snitched by telling his side of the story to the court went like this. When asked if Cowboy was a snitch or not, one dude said,
I don't know, man. I said that's a.
For me, I'm never.
That's a thin line because I don't know where he's at with it with gangbanging. Is he still active? Is he still out there? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
if there was a gangbanger.
However, people generally disagree with this exclusive way of thinking. Most of the folks have Cowboy's back and see his decision to show up in court and do his part in the trial as a healthy one. One person said, "No way we civilians will ever look at Cowboy as a snitch." He said he enjoys the fact that this man is going through hell on earth for wrongfully taking his brother's life. In the words of Kendrick, he grieved different. R.I.P. Nip the Prolific. The reason why not only Cowboy, but almost everybody out there who wants to see justice for Nipsey is disappointed by Ren Paul's move is that his decision could turn the tide of the trial completely. But those of y'all who don't know, if they get Ren Paul testifying in front of the court, that might as well put Eric Holder behind bars for life. If not, he might get a lower sentence and eventually get out of jail as a free man. In the end, we gotta draw a line and ask the real questions. When has snitching gone too far? Is this whole thing going in the wrong direction? Ren Paul probably doesn't see the bigger picture here. He's probably not aware how many families and lives are involved in this case, and how many of them wish to see this trial go down rightfully. If he compromises the whole trial process just because he doesn't want to be called a snitch, is it going to be worth it? All that because Ren Paul just wants to stay loyal to the streets? But what are y'all thoughts on this matter? Would Ren Paul's testimony be considered snitching? We'd love to hear your opinion, man. Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, make sure to check this next one out. And as always, remember to keep it RIZZLE.